If you have a bank account in the United States right now, and you are an immigrant or an international student, I need you to stop whatever you are doing and watch this video until the end, because something just happened, something that could directly affect your money, your account, and your financial future in this country, and most people have no idea it is coming. On May 19th and 20th, 2026, President Trump signed an executive order called Restoring Integrity to America's Financial System. That sounds like a normal government title, right? But here is what it actually means for you. For the very first time in the history of the United States, banks are now being directed by the U.S. Treasury to look at your immigration status as a financial risk factor. Think about that. Your immigration status, not your income, not your payment history. Your immigration status could now determine whether your bank account stays open or gets flagged. And the full enforcement rules? They're coming in the next 60 to 180 days. That means by the end of 2026, the rules of banking in America could look completely different for immigrants. So no matter where you are from, no matter what visa you are on, you need to understand what is happening and exactly what to do today to protect yourself. Let me walk you through everything, step by step, from the basics to the most urgent things you must do right now. Let's start from the beginning, because if you just arrived in America, the banking system here works very differently from what you might be used to back home. In the United States, your financial life is built on two things: your bank account and your credit score. These two things together determine everything. Can you rent an apartment? Can you get a car? Can you borrow money? Can you even get certain jobs? All of that depends on how strong your banking and credit history is. If you are new here, you start with nothing. And that nothing is actually a problem, because banks see someone with no history as an unknown risk. Now, the first thing everyone tells you when you arrive in America is, go open a bank account. Simple enough, right? But here is where most immigrants immediately run into a wall. They walk into a bank, and the person behind the counter asks, "Do you have a social security number?" And if you say no, they tell you they cannot help you. And you walk out thinking you cannot open a bank account without an SSN. That is completely wrong, and that single misunderstanding costs thousands of immigrants months of delay in getting their financial life started. Here is the truth. An SSN, a social security number, is not legally required to open a bank account in the United States. There is no federal law that says a bank must have your social security number before opening your account. What a bank needs is proof of who you are and a way to identify you for tax purposes. And if you do not have an SSN yet, you can use something called an ITIN, an Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. An ITIN is issued by the IRS, the U.S. Tax Authority, through a form called the W-7 form. You can apply for it with just your passport and some additional documents. If you go to an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center in person, or work with a certifying acceptance agent, you can sometimes get it processed in 1 to 3 days. If you apply by mail, it takes 6 to 11 weeks. The moment you have that ITIN number, most major banks will accept it instead of an SSN. Banks like Chase, Bank of America, Citibank, PNC, Wells Fargo, they all accept ITIN. You walk in, bring your passport, bring your ITIN letter, and bring proof of address. If you have a U.S. address, even a friend's address or a lease agreement, bring that. Some banks will even accept a foreign address if you are brand new and not yet settled. PNC Bank, for example, accepts something called an IRS Form W-8BEN, which simply certifies that you are not a U.S. taxpayer. And certain banks like Citibank and HSBC have historically been very open to international customers. Now, one very important thing. If you go to a bank branch and the employee tells you they need an SSN and cannot accept ITIN, please understand they are wrong. Not lying, just wrong. Bank employees are trained inconsistently, and sometimes a local branch worker simply does not know their own bank's official policy. If that happens to you, do not give up. Ask to speak to a manager, or go to a different branch, or call the bank's main customer service number and ask them directly. The official policy at all the major banks allows ITIN. You just sometimes have to push a little to get the right person. For students on an F1 visa specifically, some of the best options right now are Chase College Checking, which has 0 monthly fees for students up to age 24, Bank of America's Safe Balance account, which also waives fees for people under 25, and online banks like Chime and SoFi, which have very simple setups, require fewer documents, and charge 0 monthly fees. If you are a student and you are not sure where to start, those are your safest bets. And one more thing about opening a bank account, always go in person first. Many immigrants try to open accounts online and get rejected immediately because online banking systems use automated ID verification that does not handle foreign passports and ITIN numbers well. The software just was not built for that. But when you go inside a branch, a real human being can look at your documents and manually process your application. Your success rate goes up dramatically in person. Now let us talk about the credit score system, because even after you open a bank account, you are still invisible in America's financial system. In the United States, your financial trustworthiness is measured by a number called a FICO credit score. This number goes from 300 at the bottom to 850 at the top. If you are below 580, that is considered poor credit. Between 670 and 739 is good. Above 740 is very good, and above 800 is excellent. That number is calculated based on 5 things. The biggest factor, 35% of your score, is your payment history. Do you pay your bills on time? Always, sometimes, or never? The second biggest, 30% of your score, is your credit utilization. That means, out of all the credit you have been given, how much are you actually using? The remaining 35% comes from how long you have had credit, how many new accounts you have opened recently, and what types of credit you have. Credit cards, loans, and so on. But here is the problem for new immigrants. When you arrive in the United States, you do not have a score of 300. You do not have a score at all. You are what the system calls a credit invisible person. There is no file on you. And when banks and landlords and lenders run your credit check, they get nothing. A blank. And a blank is often treated the same as a bad score. The good news is, you can build your credit from zero. And if you do it correctly, you can have a usable credit score within 6 months. The best starting point is something called a secured credit card. Here is how it works. You go to a bank. Discover and Capital One are great options. And you deposit between $200 and $500 of your own money as collateral. The bank gives you a credit card with that amount as your limit. You use that card for small, everyday purchases, maybe groceries, maybe gas. And then, this is the critical part, you pay the entire balance in full every single month. Not the minimum, the entire amount. You do this every month without fail, and within 3 to 6 months, the credit bureaus start building your file. Your first credit score appears. Now, while you are doing that, there are ways to accelerate the process. If you have a trusted friend or family member who already has a good credit history in the United States, ask them to add you as an authorized user on their credit card. You do not even have to use the card. Just being listed on it means their credit history, all those years of on-time payments, begins to show up on your credit file too. This can give your score a head start almost immediately. Another option is a credit builder loan. Companies like Self Inc. and Credit Strong offer these. You commit to paying a small monthly amount, maybe $25 or $50, into a locked savings account for 12 to 24 months. You cannot access the money until the end. But every payment gets reported to the credit bureaus as an on-time payment. At the end, you get your money back, plus you have a year or two of credit history. It is like a forced savings plan that also builds your credit. There is also something called rent reporting. If you are already paying rent every month, services like Experian Boost and Rental Karma can report those payments to the credit bureaus. That means your rent, money you are already spending, starts counting toward your credit score. And one rule that most people underestimate, keep your credit utilization below 10%. If your credit card limit is $500, try to spend no more than $50 on it per month. Even if you can afford more, keep it low. The lower your utilization, the faster your score rises. Now let us get into what banks do not tell you, because there are some hidden traps that catch almost every immigrant off guard. First, and this surprises most people, when you try to open a bank account in America, the bank does not check your credit score. They check something completely different called ChexSystems. ChexSystems is like a banking blacklist. It records every time someone bounced a check, had a bank account closed for a negative balance, or had any kind of banking problem. If you are on that list, you will be rejected, not just by one bank, but by almost every bank in the country, for up to 5 years. Here is why this matters for immigrants specifically. If you had any kind of banking problem, anywhere, including at an American bank you might have used briefly, you could be on ChexSystems without knowing it. You can request your free ChexSystems report once per year at ChexSystems.com. Check it. If there are errors, mistakes that should not be there, you can dispute them and have them removed. Second hidden trap, fees. Most banks are not upfront about all the ways they take money from you. If you open a standard checking account and you do not have a direct deposit coming in, or you do not maintain a minimum balance, which can be anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 depending on the bank, you get charged a monthly maintenance fee. That is $12 to $15 per month, silently. That adds up to $144 to $180 per year just for having the account. Then there are overdraft fees. Banks have a feature, they call it overdraft protection, where if you try to spend more money than you have, they let the transaction go through and then charge you $25 to $35 for doing you that favor. And this can happen 3, 4, 5 times in a single day. So you can wake up one morning with $0 in your account and find that it is now negative $175 because of overdraft fees from yesterday. This is a trap. Call your bank and tell them to turn it off. Tell them to decline any transaction if you do not have the money. Do not cover it. Do not charge me a fee. Just decline it. ATM fees are another quiet drain. If you use an ATM that is outside your bank's network, your bank charges you $3 to $5. Then the ATM owner charges you another $3 to $5. That is up to $10 just to take out $20 of your own money. And if you are sending money back home to your family, which most immigrants do, please do not use a big bank wire transfer. Banks charge $25 to $45 per transfer. Use services like Wise, Remitly, or World Remit. They charge a fraction of that cost. The same $500 you send home will arrive with much less taken out. For students specifically, pay very close attention to this. That wonderful zero-fee student bank account, it automatically converts into a regular account when you graduate. And the bank does not make a big announcement when this happens. One day you are a student with no fees, and 3 months after graduation you are paying $12 a month and do not even know why your balance keeps going down. And now for the biggest issue of 2026, the thing that makes your bank account not safe right now. Here is the reality. When that executive order was signed on May 19th and 20th of 2026, it set off a chain of events that will unfold over the next several months. The Treasury Department has 60 days to issue guidance to banks about what to look for. Things like unusual cash deposits, payments from informal work, the use of ITIN numbers, and even the use of foreign consular ID cards, like the Mexican matricula consular, are now specifically mentioned in the executive order as potential red flags. That does not mean your account gets closed tomorrow. Right now, banks are not required to verify your citizenship. They are not required to report your immigration status. Your existing account is still legal to hold. And very importantly, several of the biggest banks in America, including those represented by the American Bankers Association, have already pushed back against this order, calling earlier versions unworkable. Banks do not want to lose millions of immigrant customers. So there is significant institutional resistance to the most extreme versions of this policy. But, and this is the critical part, the situation is changing. Within the next 6 months, new rules will arrive. And if you are living with all of your money in a single bank account, you are vulnerable. If that account gets flagged, reviewed, or even temporarily frozen, which can happen during compliance investigations, you lose access to everything. Your rent money, your grocery money, everything, while you are fighting to get it back. Immigration attorneys and financial experts are now giving the same advice to every immigrant they work with. Do not keep all your money in one place. Open a second account at a credit union. Credit unions are member-owned, non-profit institutions. They are typically more community-focused, more immigrant-friendly, and historically slower to act on aggressive federal guidance than the big commercial banks. Keep 1 to 2 months of emergency expenses in that second account. If your primary account is ever frozen, you have a lifeline. Also, do not panic and pull all your money out in cash. I know that might feel like the safe thing to do, but the executive order specifically mentions unusual cash withdrawal patterns as a red flag behavior. Pulling large amounts of cash draws more attention, not less. Stay calm, stay smart. Make sure all your immigration documents are organized. Your ITIN letter, your visa, your passport, everything. If your bank ever contacts you asking for additional documentation, do not ignore that letter. But also do not respond without first speaking to an immigration attorney, because your response could have consequences you did not anticipate. And know your FDIC protection. Your deposits at any FDIC-insured bank are protected up to $250,000 per bank. A bank cannot make your money disappear. Even if an account is frozen, your money is still there, still protected. The government is not taking it. But frozen still means you cannot access it, which is why having a backup account matters. If you live in New York, California, or Illinois, you have an additional layer of protection. Those states have their own anti-discrimination laws that protect immigrant access to financial services. These laws operate independently of federal policy. So even if federal rules tighten, your state may provide legal protection that the federal government cannot override at the local level. So let me bring this all together and give you exactly what to do right now, in the right order. Number 1, get your ITIN if you do not already have one. Go to an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center in person or find a certifying acceptance agent online. Do not wait. This is your financial identity in America. Number 2, choose the right bank for your situation. If you are an immigrant who needs a full-service bank, go to Citibank, Chase, or Bank of America in person. If you are a student, Chase College Checking and B of A Safe Balance are your best zero-fee options. If you want an easy online option with no complications, Chime and SoFi are the most accessible right now. Number 3, open your account in person, not online. Bring your passport, your ITIN letter, and proof of address. If a branch employee turns you away, try another branch or call the bank's main line. Number 4, on the same day you open your account, set up transaction alerts, opt out of overdraft fees, and set up your online banking access. Number 5, within your first month, apply for a secured credit card. Put $200 to $300 as a deposit. Use it for small purchases only. Pay the full balance every single month. This starts your credit journey. Number 6, open a second account within 60 days. Go to a local credit union. Keep your emergency fund there, separate from your main account. This is your 2026 safety net. The situation is serious but not hopeless. There is still time to position yourself correctly. The immigrants who get through this period in good shape will be the ones who took action early, spread their money wisely, and stayed informed. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who just arrived in America or is planning to move here. They need this information before they walk into a bank for the first time. And subscribe, because as those 60-day and 90-day government deadlines arrive, I will be here to break down every update in plain, simple language. Your money works for you when you know the rules. Let's make sure you always know the rules.